Greetings to one and all. Myself Kishore, IoT engineer R&D team from Minion Labs. This is the second episode of our webinar series is on energy efficiency, which will happen every Fridays at the same timings, that is 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., which is presented by Minion Labs along with its academic partner IIIC of Christ University. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available on YouTube and also a Minion Labs website. A documented copies of this webinar and the documents of you will get the PPT and PDF of this seminar will be available immediately on your mailbox after today's program. So now let us take some time and recall what all the topics that we are covered in the previous session. We have learned some basics and fundamentals of electricity, that is form of electricity, wherein we studied about the renewable energy and non-renewable energy and also some of its examples. History and evolution of electricity. Here we saw electricity evolution from the past 1750s, that is from the Benjamin Franklin, the discoverer of electricity, to evolution of electric car, that is Tesla. And also we learnt how the evolution of electricity impacted the industrial revolution and also electric demand within the people. Science behind electricity. Here we had learned about the atom behavior, like how electrons and protons acts in electricity when the electricity passes through it. Static electricity. Here we had seen some of the real-time examples of static electricity where the air strands due to the charged particles, etc. Parameters of electricity. The parameters which are mainly dependent on electricity, such as voltage, current, volt ampere, watt, and also we saw the Ohm's law where the voltage and current are related. Coming to today's episode, we'll try to understand about AC and DC, electricity connections, AC and how to generate AC, applications of AC, DC, that is direct current, generating the DC, applications of DC, AC versus DC, that's quite interesting topic again. Electricity bills and tariff that change the confusions. Kill a watt meter. In order to understand, we need some background about the AC and DC, that is alternating and direct current. I know some people might already familiar with these basics and some might not. We all now know what is electricity from the previous session. Flow of electric current. So how electric current has major role in electricity and so on. We also already learned about electric current, right? Let's recall in brief. So when electric charges flow through a wire, we say that electric current is flowing through it, right? It is expressed again in ampere, that is A. On every electric appliances, you shall find amps rating also. That also we people saw. And also now we'll see how AC and DC works in real time and what is AC. Alternating current describes the flow of charge that changes direction periodically. As a result, the voltage level also reverses along with the current. AC is used to deliver power to the houses, offices, buildings, etc. Here you can see AC. This is a symbol for AC source, which give the current in the both way to the load. That is, positive off cycle is to the positive way of the load, and negative off cycle is the negative way of the load. And then this is the waveform of AC to be represented along with the time t. Generating AC. AC can be produced using a device called an alternator. AC alternator basically. This device is a special type of electrical generator designed to produce alternating current. A loop of wire is spun inside a magnetic field which induces a current along the wire. The rotation of the wire can come from any number of means: a turbine wind, a steam wind, a flowing water, and so on. Because the wire spun enter the different magnetic polarity periodically, the voltage and current alternatives along the wire. Here is the short animation which showing this principle. You can see a magnetic field is passing in this blue line, and also electric current is rotating along the line of wire, which gives when it's in the when it's in the horizontal way, it will be in the zero amplitude. When it's in the north way, it will be the positive V. So this is how the alternator works. Oh. So we also saw you can the it can be produced, the rotation is produced by a steam or flowing water, right? So is the flowing water analogy. If you see here, alternative current to generate AC in some sets of water pipes, we cannot do a mechanical crank or to a piston that moves along the water, right? So notice that pinch of section of the wire is resistance. So you can see it's a closed and it's very narrow to make the produce and then to give some pressure in the along the direction of the piston turns. We'll see the waveforms, how the AC generates its waveform. AC can come in a number of forms as long as the voltage and current are alternating. If we hook up an oscilloscope to a circuit with the AC and plots its voltage over the time, we might see a number of different waveforms with the noise as well. But in ideally, the most common type of AC is sine wave that you can see here along amplitude versus time. The most common type of AC is sine wave. The AC is in most homes and offices have an oscillating voltage that produces this sine wave. So we can see other common forms of AC as well include sine wave and triangle wave. Sine wave, when you give a alternating Fourier transform to a single sine wave, meanwhile you can see after some 10 to 15 iteration, you can see either triangle wave or square wave. So square wave are often used in digital and switching electronics to test their operations, etc. And then triangle wave are found in sound synthesis and also useful for testing linear electronic appliances like amplifiers and also so now we'll see how to describe a sine wave. We often want to describe a sine wave in a mathematical form. For example, we'll use the common sine wave. There are three parts to a sine wave, that is amplitude, frequency and phase. The sine wave you see here is a single one phase. So wherein three phases, you would have heard about the three phases, which is 120 degree phase out of phase with the single phase. That is plus 120, it starts from here, and minus 120, it will starts from here. So looking at voltage, V of t equals Vp. Vp, that is that particular phase, sine of 2 phi ft plus phi. So we will see what is each and every parameters here. Vt is the voltage as a function of the time, which means that our voltage changes as time changes. The equation to the right of the equal sign describes how the voltage changes over the time. Vp is the amplitude. This describes the maximum voltage that our sine wave can reach in either of the direction. That is this one, that is Vm here, Vm and then minus Vm. This is the maximum that the sine wave can generate. So the sine SIN function indicates that our voltage will be in the form of periodic sine wave, which is smooth oscillation around zero voltage. 2 pi. 2 pi is a constant that converts the frequency of cycles into hertz. It's also called as angular frequency, and then it's measured in a unit called radian. F. F describes the frequency of the sine wave. This is given in the form of hertz or units per second. The frequency tell you how many times a particular waveform, in this case, one cycle of our wave sine wave arise and a fall. That is, this is one cycle of a sine wave. That's called one frequency, that is 1 hertz, occurs within a 1 second. T. T is independent variable. It is measured in seconds again. As time varies, our waveforms also varies. 5. Describe the phase of the sine wave. So now phase angle is this one. It's also describe the sine wave at that particular instant. What is the value? I mean, what is the amplitude? Phase is a measure of how the shifted of waveform is with respect to the time. It is often given as a number of 0 to 360 degree and measured, and also it can also measured in radians, that is 0 to 2 pi. Because of this periodic nature of the sine wave, if we see the waveform, it shifted by 360 degree, it becomes the same waveform again. That is a completion of after a cycle. It continues to be the same for the next and further cycles. For simplicity, we'll assume that phase is 0 for the rest of this tutorial. You might have heard that AC voltage in US is 120 sometime. This is also correct. How? When talking about the AC, it often easier to be average or taking a mean. To accomplish that, we shall call a method root mean square, that is RMS value, VRMS. So how you get the VRMS? So you'll get the VRMS by doing a VM by root 2. That is VM by 1.414. That's your actual VRMS at that particular point. So all all AC circuits are measured in VRMS, both the voltage and current. That is VRMS and IRMS. So we'll see some of the applications. Home and offices outlets are most available, almost uses the AC. This is because generating and transporting AC across a long distance is relatively easy. At high voltages, say like 110 kilowatt to 200 kilowatts, less energy in less loss of electricity power in transmission. Higher voltage means lower currents. The lower current means less heat generated in the power line due to resistance. AC can be converted and from from high voltages easily using transformers. That's why we'll see every transformer in the road corner or a street and near your houses and like in the distribution bases. AC is also capable of powering electric motors. Motors and generators are the exact same devices, but motors converts electrical energy into mechanical energy, and generators produce from the mechanical energy, it again produces the electrical energy. This is useful for many large appliances like dishwashers, refrigerators, and so on, which runs on AC again. So now AC motor, it's the one of the greatest application of AC. The benefits of AC over DC with regards to generators design are also reflected in AC motors. If you see a shaft is there and also the brushes, when it goes to the positive, that will be the 120 degree phase shift of the other. So it runs in the three phase. While DC motors requires the use of brushes to make electrical contact with the moving coils of wire. AC motors don't need. AC and DC motors are designed very similarly to generate other counterparts. The AC motor being dependent upon reversing the magnetic field to produce alternative current within the shaft. So if you see every time it turns, the AC and also the north and south has always a 120 degree phase shift, which gives which gives for the individual phases. So when it's exactly horizontal to the north, that is maximum VM, and then when it's exactly to the south, that's minus VM. Second is transformers. So we know the AC generators and AC motors tend to be similar than DC generators and DC motors. This relatively simplifies the translate into greater reliability and lower manufacturing cost. But what else is AC good for? Surely there must be more than design details of generators and motors, right? Indeed there is. There is an effect of electromagnetism known as mutual induction, whereby two or more coils of wire are placed so that the changing magnetic field created by one induces a voltage in the other. If we have two mutual induction coils, we energize one coil with the AC, we'll create a AC voltage in the other coil as well. That's called a secondary turnings. When we use that the device is called transformer. So now let's see what is direct current. Direct current is bit easier to understand than alternating current. Rather than oscillating back and forth, DC provides a constant voltage or a current. DC current is also defined as unidirectional flow of electric charge. In DC current, the electrons move from an area from negative charge to area of positive charge without changing any direction. It's a unidirection. So we'll see how can we generate DC. DC can be generated in a number of ways. An AC generator equipped with a device called commutator can produce a DC. Use of device called a rectifier that converts AC to DC. There are some rectifier circuits in almost all the appliances which is using DC as these rectifier circuits. Batteries also again will use in day-to-day life everywhere. Your phone has the batteries, torch has the batteries. All these are runs on DC current, which generates from the mechanical reaction inside the battery. So we'll see using the same water analogy again. How can DC can be similarly fill the tank? The tank can only push water one way because DC is unidirectional out of the house. Similar to the other DC producing batteries, once the tank is empty, which is no longer flow through the pipe. So like a battery which is completely drained out, it's no longer like you have to recharge it again to start the battery from the initial. So how can we exactly define the DC? So DC is again a unidirectional, it flows in a one direction. Voltage and current can vary over the time, so long as the direction of the flow doesn't change. To simplify things, we'll assume that voltage is very constant. For example, in the AA batteries, the constant voltage provided is 1.5 volts, which can be described in a mathematical terms like V of t is 1.5 volts always. Unlike there is a complex formula in AC that is Vm sine 2 pi ft plus phi. It's a way straightforward and simple. We can see how can we this is a simple way to represent the DC. So we'll see some of the applications of DC. Almost all the electronic projects and parts of all the and then you can see many website all the electronic components like in SparkFun runs on DC again. Everything that runs off of the battery plugs into the wall using a AC adapter or using a USB cable which relies on everything relies on DC. For example, your cell phones, flat screen TVs, flashlights, hybrid and EV. Even the electric vehicles which is charged based on batteries are run on DCs. So now it's time to see the battle of currents. So this is the great breakthrough in the history where that's why we are using the AC transmission line even till now. So that is between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Nikola Tesla is greatly supporter of AC and also a student of Thomas Edison. So in the other side, Thomas Edison, who is the discoverer of or electric bulb, like everyone knows, and is like fought in inside of the DC tank. So at every home and businesses is weird for AC. However, this was not overnight decision. In the late 1800s, a variety of inventions across the United States and Europe led to a full-scale battle between AC and DC distribution. In 1886, Ganswerk, a electric company located in Budapest, electrified all of the Rome with AC. Thomas Edison, on the other hand, has constructed already a 121 DC power station in US. A turning point in the battle came when George Whitinghouse, a famous industrial from Pittsburgh, purchased Nikola Tesla's patent for AC motors and transmissions in the next coming years. In late 1800s, DC could not be easily converted to high voltages. As a result, Edison proposed a system of small local power plants that would power individual neighborhoods or cities sections. So DC would have powered only a particular section of the city, not completely. Power was distributed using three wires from the power plant, that is plus 110 volts, 0 volts and minus 110 volts, in order to represent three phase. Lights and motors could be connected between either of one plus 110 volts or minus 110 volts of the socket, and 0 obviously will be the neutral. 110 volts allowed for some voltage drop between the plant and the load. So even though the voltage drop across the power lines was accounted for, power plants needed to be located within a 1 mile of the end user. So more than that, it would have been waste and then not much efficient in the transmission of power. The limitation made power distribution in rural areas extremely difficult and if not possible sometimes. What Tesla's patents tell is, so when you work with the AC distribution system, transformers provided an inexpensive method to step up the voltage of AC to the several thousands of volts and back down to the usable levels. So both the side of before the utility and after the utility, the transformers were there, which is used to step up to transmit the line, and then which is to step down to users at the end for appliances and all. At the higher voltages, the same power could be transmitted as much lower current, which meant less power loss due to resistance in the wire. As a result, large power plants could be located many miles away and service a greater number of people and buildings. So this is one of the cruel campaign that Edison did back in 1800s. That is Edison's smear campaign. So over the years, this campaign had been run. Edison took a highly discourage, instead of like building a DC power distribution board, he discouraged the usage of AC, like saying, which includes like many like with spreading of many disinformation about AC. Edison also directed several technicians to publicly electrocute the animals with the AC. So he was trying to prove that AC is very dangerous by killing on animals passing like many tons of AC, that is almost 10K to 15K of 15 kilovolts of AC to animals, that is elephant and dogs as well, in the public, and then kill them. So this is how he was showing how AC was dangerous. In attempt to display the danger things, so Edison and then his students also created the electric chair in the New York using AC. So finally the DC won, by anyway. Sorry, AC won, by the way. So we'll see how the AC rised over a period. So you can see these are the generators which is used in one of the displays exhibition. in 1986. There was an international electrotechnical exhibition was held in Frankfurt, Germany, displayed the first long distance transmission of three-phase AC, which powered lights, motors at the exhibition. Several representatives from what would have become the GE, that is General Electric today, was presented there and were subsequently impressed by this display. The following year, GE formed and began to invest on AC technology. So Westinghouse won a contract in 1893 to build a hydroelectricity dam to harness the power of Niagara Falls and transmit AC to Buffalo, New York. The project was completed on November 16, 1896, and AC power began to power industries in Buffalo. This milestone marked the decline of DC in the US. While Europe was adapted to a AC standard that is 220 to 240, even till today we are using the same thing at 50 Hz. The standard in North America would be 120 volts at 60 Hz. So next, one of the biggest application of DC came into the picture is high voltage direct current, that is 1880s. One of the Swiss engineer Rene used a series of motor generators to create high voltage DC, which could have been transmitted over long distances. However, due to high cost and maintenance of storage systems, HVDC was never adopted for almost a century. With the invention of semiconductor electronics, that's in very recent times, about after 1970s, economically transforming between AC and DC became possible. Specialized equipment could be used to generate high voltage DC power, that is approximately 800 kilovolts to 1000 kilovolts. So parts of Europe has begun to employ HVDC lines to electrically current various countries. HVDC lines experience less loss than equivalent AC lines, also extremely long distances. Additionally, HVDC allows different AC systems to be connected. Despite its advantages, HVDC systems are more costly, less reliable than common AC systems. In the end, Edison, Tesla, Westinghouse may have their wishes come true. AC and DC can coexist and can serve each purpose. We'll see some of the advantages of AC over DC. The generation of AC than that DC is much cheaper. AC machines are very simple, robust, and do not require much attention for their repairs and maintenance during their use. Wide range of voltages are obtained by the use of transformers. The magnitude of current, the magnitude of current can be reduced by using inductions and a conductor without any appreciable loss of energy. AC can easily converted into DC with help of other simple rectifier circuits. When AC is supplied at high voltages in the long distance transmissions, the line losses are smaller compared to the DC transmission. That's why till today the transmission lines are powered up with the AC. So we'll see some of the disadvantages as well. Peak value of AC is high and it's very dangerous to be used, so better insulation should be must. It attracts a person who touches it, unlike DC, which give a high rippling shock. People like they causes death also. An AC is transmitted from the surface of the conductor and hence needs several strands of thin wires insulated from each other. So you should now have a good understanding of differences between AC and DC. AC is like, we'll brief it out. AC is easier to transform between high voltage levels, which make high voltage transmission more feasible. DC on the other hand is found in almost all the electronics. You should know that the two do not mix very well, and you will need to transform AC to DC if you wish to plug in the electronics appliances. Electricity bills and tariffs change confusion. So this is the most common thing, like it's happening every time, everywhere. So electricity tariffs changes happen almost every year, sometimes every 6 months as well. They are difficult both for consumers as well as utilities. For the utilities, generation of electricity bills becomes challenging due to varied tariffs for different various dates. And for consumers, it becomes difficult to understand and tariffs applicable to them. We'll see one of the example in such scenario. So in one such state, tariff was changed, and the change was effective from 1st April 2013. Before this change, the tariff slab rates was this: 0 to 250 units, it was 4.9 per unit. 251 to 500, it was 5.6 per unit. 501 to 800, it was 5.98. If you see this bill, which is generated before this April 1st, 2013, that is in between date 25th 4 sorry yeah 25th 4 2013, from 25th second to, that is from February to April almost, that is 2 months of bill. The person who got this bill was quite confused, as the totals on this bill do not match at all. So for example, if you consider this 248 units into 4.9, it should have arrived something around 1215, whereas in the bill it shows 1109. So similarly in the second slab and also the third slab, it was totally different. So the reality of the bill is, if you look at the bill carefully, the period of the bill starts from 25th Feb to 25th April, which is about 2 months. The tariff slabs for most utilities are defined for 1 month period. So in the above case, if the rate of the first slab was applicable for 250 units in 1 month, then it should be applicable for also 500 units in the second month, and likewise for other slabs as well. But there was another catch as well. The tariff in the state changed starting from 1st April, that we already know. The old tariff that was applicable only before 1st April. So this is the new slab rate that got after 1st April. So this is how ideally the units are calculated in the electricity bill. So as there is no way to determine how much was really consumed till 31st March, assuming that, we can say that about 383 units, total of 665 units are consumed from 25th Feb till 31st March, and 282 units consumed in the month of April. So if we apply old and new tariffs to the units, we get from for 25th Feb to till 31st March, the amount should be, so 40 units in the slab one, of 2.7 unit in the new slab rate, that is this is 108. Then second slab and also third slab, which comes to 1751 for the April month. After the changing of Before the changing of slab, if we sum it up for the first slab and the second slab, the units will be 1404. That comes around 3155. But if you look at the bill, the total is 3132. So what we can know from the overall electricity slab variations and then tariff changes, we can conclude, although the electricity bill looks little confusing, the utility or distribution company has tried to adjust in such a way that the bill value is almost close close as much as possible. So this bill that we received was not wrong, but if tariffs has changed in your area recently, please make sure that you validate it before making any payments. But the overall will be always lesser than the bill price will be always lesser than the overall unit consumed if the tariff changes in between. So now let's see something about the kilowatt meter. It's also originally called as kilowatt meter, which is a device used. Okay, before that, electricity meter have been around since many decades now, right? An electricity meter measures the electrical consumption and displays it on the screen. But we are used to electricity meters, which measures the total electric consumption of the entire house or entire office. But what if you want to measure how much your air conditioner alone giving or how much your refrigerator alone giving? So this is where a kilowatt meter steps into a picture. So what is kilowatt meter? A kilowatt meter is a device which is capable of measuring electrical consumption of the appliances directly connected to it. It is first manufactured by P3 International. It's a well famous company. It has a LCD display which shows various readings like voltages, current, true power, reactive power, apparent power, and also power factor. So some models also display estimated cost pertaining to number of units consumed. So this is the well standard picometer, also called as a kilowatt meter. So we have to direct plug in the appliances here. So like this. So using a kilowatt meter, it's quite simple. It has to be installed in a line between the power supply and the appliances. Suppose if you want to measure the electrical consumption of your refrigerator, unplug the power of the refrigerator from the source and plug it to the port of a kilowatt meter. Now plug the kilowatt meter to the power point. That's it. Leave it as long as you need, like days or hours also fine. Like monitor in the LCD screen and you will know the fluctuation how your refrigerator is consuming the power. So these are the different models of kilowatt meter. Kilowatt meter, although the basic functionality remains same across all the meters, there are some additional features which are added in the different variants. So these are the three main different models, that is P4400. The first and most basic version of the kilowatt meter, which shows only a current, voltage, power factor, true power, that's all. P4460 kilowatt meter EZ. The biggest strong coming, this is the one. The biggest strong coming a kilowatt meter is that it is not cannot store the information. Its memory lasts as long as you plugged into a supply. As soon as you unplug the power supply, the numbers reading in the LCD screen will disappear. To deal with this, the particular model includes a backup battery which enables to store the information after disconnected from the power supply as well. So you don't have to write down the readings manually. So next model is P4320. It is more advanced version of a kilowatt meter. It is integrated into a 8 outlets power strip. So it is capable to protecting against power surges and also can measure leakage current as well. It will also show the pricings. We'll see what are the advantages of kilowatt meter, why we need to buy that. It is a small and handy device for measuring electrical consumption of any electrical appliances. Unlike the home energy meters, it measures the consumption of an individual appliances, giving you very useful information and about the performance of your appliances is likely efficiency or not. It is very easy to use. It does not require any wire, can simply plug into a power point to have a complete information about the behavior of your particular appliances. It is quite useful in determining the standby power of an appliances. Although it doesn't measure the high degree of accuracy, it is way better than more regular it is way better than the more regular many regular meters which have at least one count of 1 kilowatt, where a kilowatt meter has at least count of 0.1 kilowatt. That's more precision and more accuracy. Where can okay so when buying a kilowatt meter, make sure that amp rating of your appliances you are planning to connect to it or not should not be higher than a kilowatt meter amps rating. So you should always connect the appliances which have amp rating lower and comparable amp rating to the kilowatt meter. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thanks for joining and being here. I think I have tried explaining all the concepts about AC/DC and battles between them, and also electricity and tariffs confusion in the easiest way I can in this session. So I hope that this will help you to understand. So when you check next month's bill and before going for the payment, understand this concept. It will be great and it will be very aware of electrical consumption. So in the next session, that is on Friday 19th, sorry, that is on February 26th, same Friday, 4:30 to 5:30. We'll discuss and some concepts of energy auditing process and how can you be a self energy auditor in your home. So that's it for today. So let's have Q&A session. So if anyone have some questions, you can go ahead. Thank you. Okay, you can unmute your mic now and you can go ahead for the questions. So it seems there is no questions. Okay, if you people have any questions further, you can mail mail on the Minion Labs email ID. So they'll be replying back to you, and also you'll get all the documents regarding this by end of the day. So thank you. Have a great day. See you in the next session. That is on next Friday. Thank you.